This is big breaking news. An alert has been issued for 21 different states for tonight. They could see increased activity, and we're also getting warnings that there could be potential radio communications blackouts in certain areas as well too. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see it says here severe geomagnetic storm watch is in effect for November 12th, and that's tonight and tomorrow, right? This is going into effect. So tonight we could see 21 states could be seeing auroras tonight, potentially. You can see here it says northern lights may be visible in 21 states tonight. And it says it maybe was visible from Alaska to Indiana as two incoming coronal mass ejections could spark geomagnetic storm conditions overnight. We will get into more details of that in just a second in the 21 states. But you can see here G4 is severe, okay? Which is one level under G5, which is the highest rating. We had a G3 storm last week, and it is a quote strong rating. This is now severe. You can see here it says the CME is anticipated to arrive at and partially impact Earth at around midday the 12th of November, with the potential for elevated geomagnetic response, and dependent upon the orientation of the embedded magnetic field, potential exists for severe storm levels. It says here detrimental impacts to some of our critical infrastructure technology is possible, but mitigation is possible as well. The general public should visit our website to keep properly informed. The aurora may become visible over much of the northern half of the country and maybe as far south as Alabama to northern California. All right, so this is an official alert being issued by, you can see here, this was just posted Tuesday, November 11th by NOAA, Space Weather, Space Watch, and this is pretty big, right? So we most likely aren't going to see severe effects to the power grid and radio communications, but they could temporarily be affected. You can see here it's also R3 classifications for this quote strong solar flare. All right, this is what's causing this geomagnetic storm tonight. And you can see some of the effects. It says immediate wider area of strong degradation or signal loss and high frequency communication bands over much of the sunlit side of the Earth. Users of high frequency radio signals may experience loss of contact or major disruptions for a number of minutes to a couple of hours in the affected areas. Okay, so this is expected to be a big storm, and something that coincides with these, we'll get to the states in just a second, is these earthquakes. So last week there was a G3, quote, strong geomagnetic storm, and 2 days later, so I think that happened on Friday, it was Thursday or Friday last week, and then Sunday there was a 6.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Japan, right? Major earthquake, and tons of aftershocks as well too. Okay, so just 2 days after that, I'm not saying they're directly related and direct causation, but they are potentially correlated. Okay, they are potentially related. So it seems when we have increased coronal mass ejections and activity from the sun, we tend to have increased seismic activity as well too, right? It's just something, and they could potentially, it could be influencing it, right? The Earth is geomagnetic itself, and when it interacts with these powerful ejections from the sun, they could potentially manipulate or distort or influence the Earth's crust, all right, and cause fluctuations. So who knows, right? I'm not saying it's 100%, but be on the lookout for maybe over the next week and maybe another big one to hit. You can see here 56 earthquakes hit in Alaska in the past 24 hours. And we have here 115 earthquakes in the continental United States over the past 24 hours, primarily concentrated in Southern California. All right, so just something to be on the lookout for. All right, I think these things are related, not 100% and not always, but it seems to be the case when we have these big storms. There tends to be big earthquakes that follow. You can see here, it says Aurora may be visible for these 21 states. It says Alaska, North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Maine, South Dakota, Idaho, Vermont, Washington, New Hampshire, Wyoming, New York, Iowa, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Nebraska, Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana. All right, so these are the states that they are saying could see a partial aurora potentially. So the more northern states could potentially have aurora overhead, and the more south you are, the more likely it's going to be northward of you. All right, so look northward in the sky to potentially see like a green glow across the sky. All right, I remember a couple years ago in Colorado, I was there and I was up on a mountain and I could see a green glow in the northern distance. All right, it was kind of like green and purple. Pretty cool. All right, that was the closest I've ever got. It still seemed very far away, but you could see the kind of glow and the hue of the green and the purple. You could definitely see it at night. All right, so it's pretty cool to see. It's something that I want to experience, overhead, like dramatically, like in Alaska one day or something along these lines. But who knows, with the way the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, right? Like things like the South Atlantic anomaly, it seems like these auroras are becoming more common, and it seems like they are spreading further south. Okay, so and what's happening here too is when you see these aurora, so the particles in the ionosphere are being excited and ionized, and you're seeing that ionized gas in the air. Okay, so it's being ionized by the electromagnetic radiation from the sun. And you saw on this notice here, it said maybe as far south as Alabama, right? That seems insanely far down and kind of unprecedented. Maybe the past few years this is happening, but it seems like Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and these aurora, we're potentially going to see them deeper and deeper south. And I think it could even be related to some kind of big shift, all right, maybe a pole shift, something along those lines, where we see a weakening and then a reconstruction of Earth's magnetic field. Okay, so who knows? But be prepared, all right, and be ready, because this is also one of the things too where if we did have a very strong G5 geomagnetic storm, that has the potential to wipe out power grids, wipe out cell phone towers, definitely wipe out satellite communications. It has the power to do this, and it's something that we're not really prepared for, okay, because when there's a surge of this electromagnetic current traveling through the atmosphere, things like power lines, cell phone towers will pick up this electric current, and it will overload the grid, okay, or it will overload the system and essentially fry the electronics, right? That's what we're dealing with here. And we've had events like this previously, quote, the Carrington event. We've had things like this where these powerful geomagnetic incursions do hit Earth and can potentially reset certain technologies, all right, and critical infrastructure. It's even warning here, critical infrastructure, detrimental impacts to it are possible, all right? So we're normally able to mitigate it because if there are areas that are heavily impacted, they can isolate it, they can turn it off. But some systems you don't want to turn off. You don't want to turn the grid off. You don't want to turn, communication towers off, things like that. And satellites are kind of just sitting ducks to this events, and they could potentially even, start falling out of the sky. Their orbit could potentially even be disrupted, or they just become space junk after their electronics are fried from this event, okay? And it's most likely wouldn't affect the entire Earth at once, all right? Certain regions would be hit the hardest, most likely northern hemisphere, but it all depends. So just be ready, be prepared, be stocked up, don't be scared, be prepared. And this is actually kind of cool and exciting. If you can see Aurora in Alabama, I don't know, that's almost like a unheard of. Okay, I remember reporting on this maybe a year or two ago, where there was Aurora down in that region as well too. But to have it happen again it's rare. So take this opportunity. A lot of places it's not going to be clear skies really. So check your weather as well too. So thank you guys. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared out there, staying stocked up. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.